My love of coffee is pretty well documented. When anybody asks me what my favorite drink is, I always reply, coffee. Because I'll drink it at any time of year, and in any weather. But my general love of coffee also extends to coffee-based cocktails. I mean, the espresso martini. Come on! But there is no denying the superiority of the OG coffee cocktail. It's easy to dismiss the Irish coffee as a simple cup of joe spiked with whiskey. More than likely, that's what you've had, with varying levels of quality. I mean, when I started bartending, like a million years ago. As I was saying, when I started bartending, I would just use that morning's Folgers, a heaping amount of Irish whiskey, and then top it off with a squirt of Ready Whip. Then, for good measure, drizzle green creme de menthe over the top. Because, Irish? But the Irish coffee is a classic cocktail, and its preparation deserves the same close attention as other classics, like the Negroni or the Daiquiri. The original Irish coffee was developed in 1942 in, you guessed it, Ireland. But the drink really earned its following when it hit the menu at the Buena Vista Cafe in San Francisco.
On a busy day, this bar can reportedly serve more than 2,000 Irish coffees. That is a lot of coffee.
On the surface, it's an easy drink. There are only 4 simple components. But as with most drinks that are deceptively simple, it requires high-quality ingredients mixed in well-balanced proportions. With the right balance, it's a delicious cocktail that will soothe and revive the spirit with the soothing and reviving capabilities of whiskey and coffee. And since this is an Irish coffee, issues of appearance, temperature, and texture come into play. That's a lot to take into consideration. So I'm gonna need a little help with this one. And I know just who to ask.
Hello?
It's my friend Jillian Vose, the Beverage Director at the Dead Rabbit.
Yeah, hey Bennett, what's up? How are ya?
Well, we're talking about Irish coffees right now, and we were wondering if you could help.
Well, I can indeed, and you know what? I just put on some coffee, so why don't you come on in?
Thanks for inviting us all in.
My pleasure, Bennett. You know, always a good excuse to make an Irish coffee for friends.
Well, what makes a good Irish coffee?
Well, it's actually 4 simple ingredients, but with simple ingredients, you have to make sure that you do it right. So it's the quality of the ingredients, as well as the proportions of the ingredients, and the temperature. Yeah.
All right.
A lot of things to consider there. You know, you have sweet versus bitter, and cold versus hot.
So where should we start?
Well, the most important part, what do you think that is? The whiskey. Yeah.
If it's such an important ingredient, what whiskey should we use?
It's a great question. Well, I would recommend a blended Irish whiskey. So a blended Irish whiskey would be a blend of 2 or more different styles of Irish whiskey. So in this case, we want to blend on the lighter side. So it's going to be mainly a grain whiskey distillate. And then that's mixed with either both or one of a single malt Irish whiskey and or a single pot still Irish whiskey. Yeah, so some examples of this would be a Bushmills Original, which is grain and malt.
Okay.
Jameson Original, which is grain and pot still. You have Tullamore Dew, which is a blend of all three, grain, malt, and pot still. Some other good ones are Teeling Small Batch. Rowan Co. is very light and approachable.
Okay.
So things like that, lighter blend styles.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
So how about the coffee? I usually make a pretty strong coffee at home.
All right. Well, in the case of an Irish coffee, we don't want to make the coffee too strong. So you're not going to use an espresso or anything like that.
Oh.
I know, I'm sorry. But you can just have more than one and maybe it will do the same thing.
Sure.
Okay. The coffee can't be too strong or it's going to overpower the other ingredients. So we're going to make a standard drip coffee. If you have a French press, a Chemex, or just your regular old coffee house drip machine. So medium to dark roast, something fruity and nutty. We use a Sumatra blend, and but anything that's your personal preference.
Should we sweeten it with anything?
Absolutely. Again, back to balance. Coffee being on the bitter side, you need something to balance that out with a bit of Demerara sugar syrup.
All right.
Yeah. So I've made that already, but it's a coarsely ground turbinado sugar or Demerara sugar.
Okay.
And we're going to use 2 parts of the sugar to 1 part of water.
Sure.
We're going to put that over heat and bring that to a boil. So just as it kind of all rises, you're going to turn off the heat, mixing it often. And then you're going to let that cool, and I have the sugar syrup here.
Okay.
Yep, so that lasts a while. So if you don't use it all, you can save it and make old fashions with it. You can, make more Irish coffees down the road.
More coffees.
More coffees.
Well, we're dying to know. What's your spec for an Irish coffee?
Well, I'll tell you, but you have to promise not to tell anybody.
We promise.
Okay. Well, first off, a 6-ounce glass. Very important. If your glass is too big, you're going to put too much coffee in it. It's going to throw the whole thing off.
No, we don't
So,
want that.
6-ounce glass. If you don't have a 6-ounce glass, you're going to have to do some math to figure out how to change the proportions, or just make a smaller one. We're going to start with the whiskey first. All right, where did I put that stuff? Oh, behind the pineapple, just where I left it. Okay. So with a jigger measuring device of some sort, we're going to measure out 1 ounce of a blended Irish whiskey. At the Dead Rabbit, we like to use a Bushmills Original, right to the top. Okay. And then this is kind of a tricky measurement, but it's a 5/8 ounce.
Okay. All right.
So 3/4 too much, half was not enough. So we went right down the middle there. All right, you see how the sugar kind of sunk to the bottom there?
Yeah.
We want to make sure that we give this a good stir before we top the cream on top, okay?
Okay.
So we're gonna add the coffee. You want to leave about a finger's worth of room there at the top.
Okay.
Unless you have, a really big finger. Use your pinky. Maybe not use you as an example. No offense.
Sure. No
But-
offense taken.
With the hot coffee,
Look at
I'm
these
just going to
things.
give this a nice stir, okay?
Okay.
We don't want to stain your finger.
Nope.
All right, and then I have my whipped cream ready to go.
Yum.
And I'm just going to pour this right over the top. See how it's just pouring nice and smooth, no bubbles on top.
And it layers beautifully. Look at that.
Look at that. So you want a nice clean line, almost like a perfectly poured Guinness. All right, so for good measure, if you'd like, nutmeg.
Oh, yes. Fresh nutmeg always.
There we go.
Wonderful.
Yeah, well, happy,
That looks wonderful.
happy Irish Coffee Day.
Happy Irish Coffee Day to you,
I'm
too.
glad-
Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Thanks for stopping by.
Oh, it was our pleasure.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
Knock 'em back, Bennett.
I will. Thank you.
You're welcome, Slancha.
Slancha. Like Jillian said, it's the balance between hot and cold, bitter and sweet that makes this such a wonderful cocktail. So, if you were fixing up an Irish coffee today, or any other day, take the time to think about your ingredients. a little bit of patience will pay off in the end. And if you're not sure about something, you can always ask a friend. You can ask me. I've had like 7 of these. That's a lot of caffeine, but whatever. I'll give you my number. We should hang out sometime. Wait, does anybody hear that? It's like a swish, swish, swish. Oh, well, whatever. I'm gonna go make some popcorn.